All right, guys, it's Brutus J from Brutus J Podcast. October the 26th, coming off a great weekend of sports, and we're talking about NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, NFL. And well, I guess you can say I've had a awful week, but we're going to talk about it. All right, guys, we're going to start the Brutus J Podcast off with some breaking news. It looks like the LSU Tigers have decided to fire head football coach Brian Kelly. That's right. LSU has fired head coach Brian Kelly. Folks, that is a $54 million buyout to fire this guy. So somebody in Baton Rouge, alumni, boosters, or whatever, have decided to cut a check. And my guess is if they're firing this guy and willing to pay him money like this early, they probably already got a guy in mind who they decide to bring in. But we're going to keep an update on that. I'm pretty sure this is coming after a 49-25 loss at Tiger Stadium last night. The Tiger Stadium was empty probably midway through the third quarter, and it didn't look good at all. It was a nasty game. And as I said, A&M defeated LSU by the score of 49-25. At halftime, LSU had the lead 18-14 in the third quarter. Texas A&M wheeled it off 28 straight points, and they went on to defeat LSU, as I said, 49-25. UCLA was on the road against Indiana. Indiana defeated UCLA by the score of 56-6. And folks, if you're not a believer in Indiana, you don't know football. Fernando Mendoza is at the top of the Heisman ballots, and folks, him and the Indiana Hoosiers are balling. We ain't talking about basketball. This is football. Indiana is for real. Alabama was on the road against South Carolina, and folks, I got to tell you, they stole this game. Alabama stole the game in Columbia. They broke some hearts. South Carolina was leading this game late in the fourth quarter by the score of 22-14. The Tide were able to score with a 2-point conversion. However, on what could have been a winning drive for South Carolina, Sellers was stripped of the ball. Alabama recovered and scored within the last minute of the game that propelled the Tide to a victory. Thousands and thousands of South Carolina Gamecock fans were at the edge of the end zone ready to run on the field for a South Carolina victory, but it didn't happen. Hey, if you're a Gamecock fan, I feel you. I'm an LSU fan. I've seen Alabama break plenty of hearts. Hey, y'all played a good game. Keep your head up. But all I got to say is for Alabama, the season ain't going to get any easier, buddy. So, hey, shout out to the Tide for the big victory. Wisconsin was on the road against Oregon, where they lost to Oregon 21-7. Nobody saw this game being just a 14-point swing, man. This is crazy. I don't know what was going on in Oregon, but Oregon defeated Wisconsin 21-7. Guys, please bear with me. I'm a little under the weather, but we're going to get through this show. Syracuse was on the road against Georgia Tech, defeated Syracuse by the score of 41-16. Haynes King is still balling, running for touchdowns, throwing for touchdowns. Georgia Tech is undefeated and are at the top of the ACC. Ole Miss was on the road in Oklahoma, where they defeated Oklahoma 34-26. I'm going to tell you something. Lane Kiffin is coaching his butt off. You got to think about something. Well, all of these head coach firings, like I said, you got James Franklin at Penn State. You got Billy Napier at Florida. You just had Brian Kelly get fired. The media are in all these locker rooms, you know, with especially Lane Kiffin. It's already been reported he's been offered an $81 million contract deal by Florida. And if you think players and recruits ain't paying attention, that you crazy. But for him, throughout all this noise, still to be coaching his butt out and going to Norman, Oklahoma, and win like that, folks, that is coaching. That is flat out coaching. Shout out to Ole Miss with the big victory in Norman over Oklahoma, 34-26. Stanford was in Miami, and Miami dominated at every phase of the game by the score of 42-7. Missouri was in Nashville. I know it's hard to win in Nashville nowadays. Missouri was in Nashville against Vanderbilt, and Diego Pavia and the Commodores were able to defeat Missouri 17-10. Missouri played a good game. This game was 10-10 all the way through the third quarter. Kind of felt bad. Missouri's quarterback had a leg injury towards like the end of the third quarter. Not saying if he would have been there, they would have won the game. It probably could have made a difference. But, you know, like I said, Vanderbilt is a tough team nowadays. We're not talking about the old Vanderbilt. The new Vanderbilt with Diego Pavil is good. And just like Alabama, their schedule don't get any easier. Commodores were able to win this game by the score of 17-10. BYU was in Iowa State. I picked Iowa State to win this game. BYU was able to win 41-27. The Cougars are still undefeated and ranked number 11 in the country. Texas Tech defeated Oklahoma State at home 42-0. Nothing really to talk about much in it. I mean, Oklahoma State, they probably won't win a game for the rest of the year. I mean, a lot going on in Stillwater. Virginia was in North Carolina where yours truly was. I can just tell you this. North Carolina is getting better. I get it. They've lost 4 straight. They are now 2-5. They're getting better. I watched the game just like the California game. They were 1 play away from winning it. Bill Belichick, I'm not saying he's coach of the year. I didn't agree with the 2-point conversion. He could have tied the game up and go to double overtime, but he chose to go for 2. It didn't work out. They lost the game. There you go. But North Carolina, they are getting better. Tennessee was on the road in Kentucky. They defeated Kentucky 56-34. The Vols are ranked number 17, and they are looking pretty good after a loss against Alabama. South Florida was on the road in Memphis. I picked South Florida to win this game, and boy, was I wrong. But hey, it was a good game. South Florida led most of this game, and Memphis were able to come back and secure the victory 34-31. Phil was at home against Boston College. This game started off a little close, but Louisville ended up pulling off and winning this game by the score of 38-24, coming off a big victory against the Miami Hurricanes. Cincinnati was at home against Baylor, and they won by the score of 41-20. And then you had Texas on the road against the Fighting Cowbells of Mississippi State, where they won 45-38. I got to tell you, Arch Manning looked good this game. He had over 300-something yards passing. As a matter of fact, let's go over some of these stats right now. He was 29 of 46 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. So, hey, all you Arch Manning haters, that's a decent game. He ended up leaving the game with a concussion, so hopefully he'll end up coming back to play next week. The Texas Longhorns won this game by the score of 45-38 in overtime. Second week in a row, Texas done been in overtime in the SEC game. Illinois were on the road in Washington. This is another game where I picked Illinois to win. They lost. Washington was able to win this game by the score of 42-25. Houston was on the road in Arizona State. Another game where I picked Arizona State to win. Houston won 24-16 over the ranked number 24 Sun Devils. Michigan in-state battle at Michigan State. Very physical game. Michigan was able to win this game by the score of 30-20. That pretty much completes the top 25. But another game outside of the top 25, Utah was on the road. Well, actually, they were at home against Colorado. And I got to tell you, folks, this game was hard to watch. I mean, I'm just going to say it like there are a lot of people who don't want to see Coach Prime succeed. I'm not one of them. I want to see Prime succeed because Deion is a different type of coach. His coaching style is different. A lot of people don't like it, but I feel like if somebody like Deion with his style can be successful, it opens the door for other coaches to come in and be the same way. So I want to see Coach, be successful. But to watch this game, it was 43-0 at halftime. Colorado only had 18 yards of total offense. I mean, it was awful. They lost the game 53-7. It probably could have been worse than that. Could have been worse. But hopefully Deion will get these guys back up the court because, I mean, this game right here was just horrible. It was hard to watch. And that press conference, Deion, all those questions towards Deion, I know it was hard for him to answer all those questions, but he did a good job. Shout out to Prime. I got faith in you. A lot of more people got faith in you. So hopefully, the Buffaloes will get it back together. All right. So that pretty much completes all of college football. Now, the National Football League. Man, the Jets and the Bengals. Who would have thought the Jets would go to Cincinnati and wield off their first victory? First off, Justin Fields was not even supposed to start this game. But the supposedly quarterback who they replaced him with ended up getting hurt. Y'all see how God works. If many of you don't know, I'm a huge Justin Fields fan. He's a local kid. Anyway, Justin Fields got benched, and the quarterback who was supposed to start ended up getting hurt. So Justin Fields ended up getting the start, and they won the game. So shout out to the Jets getting their first victory, 39-38. Justin Fields was 21 for 32, 214 yards, and a touchdown pass. But you got to say something about Joe Flacco too, because that was a good sign by a good trade deal for the Bengals to bring him in for Joe Burrow, who's currently out for the remainder of the year, more than likely. Joe Flacco was 21 to 34, 23 yards, and he had 2 touchdown passes. The Bengals, they're still looking decent without Joe Burrow. Baltimore Ravens were home against the Chicago Bears, where they defeated the Bears by the score of 30-16. Derrick Henry had 2 touchdown passes. Phillip Williams didn't have a bad game. I mean, he was 25 for 38, 285 yards, 1 interception. It was a bad interception, though. It was a real bad interception. Wilf had 11 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown, but I figured he should have got the ball more. They didn't run the ball enough for me. I think even though I picked the Ravens, I feel like the Bears actually had a better chance to win this game. They should have ran the ball more. That's just me. The Dolphins were in Atlanta against the Falcons, and they defeated the Dolphins 34-10. Penix didn't play in this game. He was inactive. But to me, even with Kirk Cousins, the Falcons had no business losing to a 1-5 Miami Dolphin team. 34-10. This is the second game this season that the Falcons lost what they should have won. You lost 30-0 to Carolina. And now you come home and lose to the Dolphins 34-10. It ain't a good look, Coach Raheem. It ain't a good look. That's all I got to say. Bills on the road in Carolina, on the way back from Chapel Hill to Georgia, we saw a whole lot of Buffalo Bill fans, at a lot of the gas stations. So the Bills got a lot of support, and they went to Carolina and took care of business 40-9. Yep, they won the game 40-9. And shout out to James Cook, 216 yards rushing, 2 TDs, and Josh Allen accounted for 3 touchdowns. So the Bills took care of business in Carolina, as they should. 49ers were on the road in Houston, and where they were defeated by the score of 26-15. CJ Stroud, hey, he's looking better and better every week, better and better. CJ Stroud was 30 for 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So, yeah, shout out to CJ Stroud and the Texans on the big victory. All right, Giants were on the road in Philadelphia, where it was the Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts show. Jalen Hurts accounted for 4 touchdowns, where the Eagles won the game 38-20. Sad news of the game, Cam Scatterboo had got hurt. Word is it's a dislocated ankle. The rookie has been very sensational this year, him and Jackson Dart. So it was a bad loss. And with a dislocated ankle, more than likely he is out for the season. So we hate to hear that, but heal up fast, Cam, because he was very fun to watch. Browns were on the road in New England, and guess what? The Patriots won. I am a real big fan of the New England Patriots with Drake May, because, it was a lot of doubters in Drake May. Drake May had a good game again, 18 of 24, 282 yards, and guess what? 3 touchdowns. Again, this is the third game. 3 out of the last 4 games, he's thrown 3 touchdown passes. Patriots defeated the Browns by the score of 32-13. Dylan Gabriel, for those who want to know, 21-35, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. All right, Buccaneers were on the road against the Saints, where they won by the score of 23-3. The Bucs, man, I got to tell you, man, Baker Mayfield, opposing coaches, has got to be a headache. I mean, the way this guy runs around in and outside that pocket. I mean, I saw one play where he threw it clearly across the field, on the other side of the field while he was scrambling, and you can't get no more accurate than that. Now, don't get me wrong. Those are dangerous throws. Baker makes them. And he was 15-24. He didn't have that great of a game. He was 15-24 and 52 yards. The Bucs defense pretty much won this game. They had 2 defensive touchdowns in this. The Bucs defeated the Saints by the score of 23-3. Colts and the Titans. The Colts won this game by the score of 38-14. Hey, the Colts just keep rolling. They just keep rolling. To me, the Colts are the surprise team of the NFL. In some eyes, they could be the best team in the NFL because they're very balanced. Steve Jones was 21 29, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns. But Jonathan Taylor, it's like every game he's consistent. Jonathan Taylor had 12 carries, 153 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Folks, that's 12 yards a carry. 12 yards a carry, Jonathan Taylor is adding. Cam Ward, he was 22 of 38, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Like I said, Cam is a rookie. He's getting better and better. Hopefully, the Titans will get on a winning roll like they won their first game last week. All right, next game up, you had the Cowboys on the road in Denver. Now, folks, I got to drink something on this one. The Cowboys were in Denver, and they lost the game by the score of 44-24. Now, I knew I had Denver picked to win this game because it's hard to win in the Mile High City. Denver has defeated the Cowboys 8 straight times, and this dating back to 95. The last time the Denver Broncos lost to the Dallas Cowboys, Chuck Aikman was quarterback and John Elway was quarterback of the Broncos. Stat lines in this game. You had Dak Prescott, 19 of 31, 188 yards, no touchdowns, but had 2 interceptions. So this was probably Dak's worst game of the year. He's been playing MVP football, but this was his worst game of the year, clearly. Bo Nix, 19 of 29, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdown passes, and 1 interception. J.K. Dobbins had 15 carries for 100, and so Denver just dominated this game. My thing is this right here, and it's nothing new because you hear people talk about it all the time. But tell me, out of all 32 teams in the National Football League, what other owner other than Jerry Jones gets interviewed at the end of the game like he's been a head coach trolling the sidelines? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. Jerry needs to hire a real coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Stop hiring these coaches that you can control. I mean, clearly the last coach they had, he didn't control, and they won Super Bowls. I'm one of them type of people, like not just the NFL, but when it comes to the NBA, Major League Baseball, I think it's good for the sport when you have some of the traditional teams are good. Like, for example, in the NFL, when the Steelers, the Cowboys are good, the 49ers, it's good for the sport. I don't like seeing, I'm not a fan of the Cowboys, but I don't like seeing them when they're down. I think it's good for the sport when they're good. Like in Major League Baseball, Yankees, Dodgers, the Cardinals, even the Braves, good for the sport. NBA, the Knicks, 76ers, Lakers, Celtics, good for the sport. And, Dallas been going through this long enough. Get them a good coach in there and stay out of their business, Jerry. But anyway, shout out to the rest of the Dallas Cowboys, man. They deserve better. Yep, they deserve better. Monday night game will be the Commanders of Washington. They would be in Kansas City. And currently right now you have the Packers on the road in Pittsburgh, and they are right now leading by the score of 7-6. You have some NBA action on this weekend too as well. Saturday, you had the Bulls on the road. The Bulls were on the road against the Magic, and they won their game by the score of 110-98. The Bulls, they're looking pretty good. They're 2-0. And the Magic are 1-2. Thunder defeated the Hawks. The Hawks, man, what does the city of Atlanta got to do? What do we got to do to out of all of them? Braves struggle, no playoffs. Hawks struggle, no playoffs. Falcons, more than likely, same thing this year. The city of Atlanta cannot catch a break. But the Thunder, the defending champion Thunder, came down to Atlanta and dominated 117-100. Seriously, 125-121 over the Hornets. Again, these scores were from Saturday night. The Grizzlies defeated the Pacers 128-103. And then you had the Nuggets defeat the Suns by the score of 133-111. Joker had a triple-double. This guy's just a triple-double machine, man. A triple-double machine. Scores as of today. You had the Spurs defeat the Nets by the score of 118-107. As you heard in my last show, I picked the Spurs to win the West, and I picked the Knicks to win the East. And, so far the Spurs, hey, they're undefeated. 3-0. Still early, but that was my pick. Let's see. Also, you had the Celtics. They lost to the Pistons by the score of 119-113. The Cavaliers defeated the Bucks 118-113. The Heat defeated the Knicks by the score of 115-107. And the Hornets defeated the Wizards by the score of 139-113. Also, for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure you know it's only the oldest sport in the country. The World Series tipped off Friday, where the Blue Jays defeated the Dodgers by the score of 11-4 in Game 1. But Game 2, which was Saturday night, the Dodgers came back and won by the score of 5-1. So yes, I got the Dodgers winning this, man. The Dodgers, that lineup. I mean, baseball is probably one of the only sports to where what you pay, you gonna win. I mean, if you willing to spend a lot of money on some of these guys in baseball, more than likely y'all gonna win a World Series. So, the Dodgers are probably gonna be 2-time defending champions in baseball. But that pretty much wraps up everything. But man, what a way to start the show off. Man, LSU has fired Brian Kelly. I mean, if somebody was to ask me right now, who would I want to be LSU's next head coach? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. And I know most LSU Tiger fans, if they hear me say it, they're gonna be like, man, we don't want him. But before I say this name, right, the last time this coach was in the SEC, he was with Vanderbilt. And this guy was getting big wins at Vanderbilt, which is the reason why he got hired at Penn State. And that's James Franklin. Now, I don't like his style of offense. Now, if LSU brings him in, just get him an offensive coordinator who's very creative. But as far as recruiting, I like James Franklin. I mean, for somebody that, y'all got to think about it. What went on in Penn State was horrible. It was horrific. For them to hire James Franklin, and when I tell you he got up there, he turned that program around with the quickness. Nothing was ever talked about that situation with Joe Paterno. I mean, they looked the other way, and Penn State was rolling. They didn't win a national championship on him, but those 12 years were good. I mean, he didn't meet the expectation because he lost a lot of big time games. But I feel like if you put him around the right organization, that he can win out some championships. I wasn't a fan of the Brian Kelly hire because you got to have a certain type of culture to be in Baton Rouge. You just do. You got to have a certain culture, and it didn't work out. He had a couple of good wins or a few good wins, but it started off with losing three straight opening games, and that didn't sit well. And also the big time games, you can't lose the way you lose. Like you can't lose like that in Baton Rouge. It happened against Alabama. Here we are again. 1 year later, it's happening again. So they had to make a change. But even if they were to get Lane Kiffin, hey, I'm good with that. But I think Florida is probably going to get Lane Kiffin because Lane got roots in Florida, so I can see him going to Florida. But we'll see. It's still early. It is still early, and I'm looking forward to next weekend because, hey, the show still goes on. There's a lot of great games going on next week. You still got Vanderbilt on the road. They got to go to Texas. You got Penn State at Ohio State. You got Miami at SMU. You got Georgia and Florida. I mean, that's who knows what can happen in that. So there's a lot of good games on again next week. So we'll see. South Carolina and Ole Miss. South Carolina folks, they can put up some points when they want to. So it's upset potential next week as well. Yep, upset potential next week as well. But this is pretty much going to wrap up the show. And looking forward to, as I said, next weekend, we're going to talk more NBA, college, World Series, NFL. I'm going to do another show either Wednesday or Thursday. I've been wanting to do I've been itching to do a show on Wednesday. Most of the times, it's a full audio show on Thursday. Then we know I do another one on Sunday. But I've been itching to do a show on Wednesday. But we're going to see how that goes. For those who don't know, this is like a second job to me. Of course, I got a regular job. Somebody asked if I have a regular job too. Of course I do. My regular job. This is my second job. I wish it was my number one job. Because if it was my number one job, y'all would get tired of me. I'd be out here every day. Every day. But anyway, guys, please make sure you comment, subscribe. I'm on Amazon, Spotify, YouTube Sports, Apple Podcasts. I even put clips on Instagram every now and then. So, yeah, you guys, please get on and, comment and subscribe to every last one of those that I said. And I appreciate all my supporters. I got a lot of them, man. I mean, the streams and the downloads, man, they are getting ridiculous. I love to get on and look at all the analytics, and they send me emails to let me know about my streams and downloads. They are doing fantastic, and it's because of all of you guys who support me. But I'm gonna need y'all to tell everybody though. Tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your cousins, your aunties. I mean, even the people who don't like sports, you ain't gotta like sports. Just subscribe. That's all I want. You can subscribe to it. Say how good the show is. No, that's not the right thing to do. At least listen to it and then say you like the show. But other than that, guys, it has been a fantastic show. Man, I debated on not even doing this show because, that Chapel Hill weather, it kind of got to me a little bit. I was losing my voice. And I almost told my wife, honey, I'm just gonna sleep it in. I ain't gonna be able to do no show tonight. But hey, God said other words. You get down there and you do this show. Cause ain't no stopping now, cause that's how people feel when you stop. But the Brutus J Podcast ain't stopping for nobody. So that is pretty much it. You guys have a fantastic week, and you already know my motto: work smarter, not harder. And I will be back at it again Thursday and Sunday, and who knows, maybe this Wednesday. But other than that, you guys have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you later.